The name of this action research was The Effect of Using Incentives in a Fifth Grade Classroom on Student Tardies and Student Motivation. My name is Ebony Armstrong. I'm with Baker University, and this is an action research paper for an inquiry and research class. My abstract. The purpose of this study was to see if incentives will affect student tardies as well as student motivation in a fifth grade classroom. 3 of the educators, fifth grade students who were chronically tardy, participated in this study. A daily attendance chart was used to document if the students were tardy, and a self-reflection survey was used to assess the students' motivation about their attendance progress. The results of the study indicated that classroom incentives impacted student tardies as well as improved student motivation to be at school in a timely manner. So, my introduction and research question. I chose 3 students in my fifth grade classroom who were chronically tardy. The 3 students that I chose often arrived to school 30 to 45 minutes within the school day, which led them to missing a major portion of their core math instruction. This impacted their academic performance. The students were either failing or had below average grades in my class for math. The students seemed disinterested and very unmotivated to be at school on time. It took them quite a while to warm up to the day and to get into our groove of the school day. And I believe it was directly stemmed from them not being to school in a timely manner. So this led me to my research question: how will using a daily incentive affect chronic tardiness and student motivation? Some of my research-based support for change, some of the research that I did, I discussed a little bit about academic achievement, getting everyone on board, the community, the families, and the parents, as well as the students, them having a buy-in, and I also researched some incentives that could be used and the impact on incentives on intrinsic and external motivation. So academic achievement. Academically, it has been established that highly absent students receive fewer hours of instruction and are consequently more likely to require significant remediation when returning to school. So basically, the kids who are missing out, especially during that core math instruction, my students who are missing out when they come in, I'm pulling them during the math intervention time, not to focus on deficits that they have, but just to catch them up on the basic concepts that I've taught during that time that they've missed. Getting on board, schools working to implement school, family, and community partnerships. When they work on those aspects, student attendance improved an average of 0.5%. So I understood through the research that it wasn't just a classroom force, but it needed to be brought into a school-wide program to get all parties and all stakeholders involved, including the students and the families and the community partnerships, different ways that we could power together to make sure the students are at school on time and to cut down on some of the chronic absenteeism that we see more often in urban settings and high poverty settings than other school settings. And then also incentives and how they can be used as a motivating factor to get students on time and to improve their attitudes, their motivation, and their interest in school and being on time. Incentives don't need to be costly. Simple rewards, recognition from peers and the school through certificates or assemblies, extra recess time, homework passes, or even dancing in the hallways go a long way towards motivating students, which I will get more into during my plan. So my data collection plan, the study took place in a fifth grade classroom at Leovicher Elementary School. The 3 students who were chosen to participate in the study were 2 females and 1 male. All 3 students were chronically tardy, like I mentioned before, making it to school about 30 to 45 minutes after the initial bell rang to signal that instruction was to begin. The study took place over a duration of 2 weeks. so there were some time constraints. Students were allowed to create a list of incentives they could partake in at the end of each school day. When the 3 students arrived each morning, a chart was used to record the students' arrival time, and then that time was marked in their agendas as well, so that at the end of the day, we knew if they had met their goal, and they were able to choose from their list of predetermined incentives and use the last 15 minutes of the day to partake in those incentives. At the end of the 2 weeks, the 3 students were given an electronic survey with 5 statements listed. The students were able to strongly agree with the statement, disagree, or strongly disagree. And this was my source of qualitative data. The source that I mentioned before, the chart that recorded their time of arrival, that was my source of quantitative data. Data analysis methods. Looking at the chart first, we could see that student A was very successful in the use of incentives to impact her arrival time. She was a student who rode the school bus to school, and as you can see, 9 out of the 10 days that the study took place, which was 90% of the time, she arrived to school in a timely manner. On December 6th, you can see she was absent. The student, as I mentioned before, rode the school bus to school. She did not make her bus, was not able to get on her bus that morning. Her family did not have an alternate method for her to get to school, and so she missed school that day. Student B was not as successful during the study. She arrived to school 20% of the time, 2 out of the 10 days of the study, on time. She was absent 30% of the time. 3 out of the 10 days, she did not come to school at all. And the remaining 5 out of the 10 days, she arrived to school after the bell for instruction to begin. And so there was no significant impact on student B with the use of incentives. Student C was similar to student A in that they arrived to school for the majority of the days that the study took place. 8 out of the 10 days of the study, which is 80%, student C arrived to school on time. 2 days out of the 10 days, which was 20% of the study, student C arrived after the bell for instruction began, but only by 1 minute on December 4th and by 3 minutes on November the 28th. And so there was, it seemed to be an impact on student A and student C's arrival time with the use of incentives. Another table that is listed was a survey that was given at the end of the study. There were 5 questions that were asked, which were: is it important for me to be at school on time? Being at school each day affects my ability to learn. My daily incentives motivated me to be at school before the 9 a.m. bell. I will come to school before the 9 a.m. bell without an incentive, and my arrival time is out of my control. Student A and student C, as you can see, had more of a positive tone and attitudes towards the end of the at the end of the study in their answers. Student B's responses directly aligned with student B's arrival times during the study. And so you can take a look at that and just see the correlation between the students and their answers. So the findings of the study suggested that the use of daily incentives improved 2 out of the 3 participants' chronic tardiness. Student B showed no significant improvement during the course of the study in regards to arrival times or motivation. Student A demonstrated the most consistent improvement during the study. The data suggests no significant improvement in student B's frequency of tardies, nor in her motivation to arrive to school on time. One possible factor could be the history of truancy in her family as a whole. This is a student that comes from a very unstable home. Our school has had to contact outside agencies for support for this family, for not only this student, but for siblings as well. Student C showed similar interest to student A. There was a significant improvement in his arrival time. Discussion and analysis of project outcomes. One of the struggles of the study was the time constraints. I really believe had we had 4 weeks as opposed to 2 weeks to collect data, maybe even student B would have shown some improvement. Another limitation to the study was the design type that I chose. I feel like I probably should have done a identical survey at the beginning of the study to check student attitudes so that I can compare them to their attitudes and motivation at the end of the study. Student A demonstrated the most consistent improvement during the study. The data suggested no significant improvement in student B's frequency of tardies nor in her motivation to arrive to school on time. I believe that one of the successes of the study was allowing students to choose their own incentives. The dissemination of results in future directions. I believe there should be a school-wide approach that should occur to yield more consistent and long-lasting results. I don't feel like this is something that can be done on the classroom level only. The school needs to work as a force, as a united force, to address this problem. School newsletters and competitions amongst classrooms can impact the issue on a larger scale. Hosting parent academies and family nights are ways in which parents can be informed in a non-invasive manner about the importance of school attendance. And some of my references.